This is Bone Chillers to disturb your dreams. Dare to join us? Click subscribe, ring the bell. But remember, we cannot guarantee your safety from the nightmares that await. Prepare to be thrilled, chilled, and filled with a sense of dread you'll find nowhere else. Welcome to the darkness. We've been waiting.
Alice in Shadowland. Alice blinked, her pupils dilating to take in the grim reality around her. The once vibrant Wonderland, a realm of endless whimsy, was now shrouded in perpetual darkness. The vibrant foliage and bizarre architecture were mere silhouettes against a night sky devoid of stars. A biting wind swept through the deserted landscape, a mournful dirge for the world that once was. In the middle of this desolation, the White Rabbit emerged, a ghostly figure with red-rimmed eyes. "Alice," he whispered, the echo of their past camaraderie clear in his voice. "I knew you'd return." As they wandered through the twisted remnants of the Wonderland she once knew, the White Rabbit relayed the chilling tale of the Black Queen, an entity of dark power that had materialized, corrupting Wonderland and transforming its residents into grotesque parodies of their former selves. Only the White Rabbit remained, shielded by his burrow's hidden magic, a singular beacon of hope in this dire dystopia. Alice felt a knot of dread tighten in her chest, but she fought it back, refusing to succumb to despair. "What can be done?" she asked, determination masking her fear. "We must defeat the Black Queen," the White Rabbit said, his whiskers twitching anxiously. "Only then will her spell be broken." Navigating the sinister terrain was a perilous ordeal. The Cheshire Cat, now a looming wraith with a grin of jagged obsidian, pursued them relentlessly. The once silly and playful Tweedle twins had become monstrous and mindless beasts, their laughter echoing menacingly in the silent night. Alice, however, discovered a hidden resilience within herself, using her cleverness to outsmart these nightmarish versions of her old friends, growing stronger with every encounter. Finally, they arrived at the Black Castle, a ghastly structure twisted and spiked like a thorn bush against the onyx sky. Within its blackened walls, Alice came face to face with the Black Queen, a formidable figure cloaked in shifting shadows. Her eyes blazed with cold fire, illuminating her grotesque countenance that held a cruel smirk. "Welcome, Alice," she crooned, her voice a symphony of nightmares. "I've been expecting you." In a heartbeat, Alice felt an icy grip seize her mind. She saw the beloved Wonderland characters morphed into creatures of darkness, heard their screams of pain, felt their hopelessness. It was an overwhelming tide of despair, threatening to drown her. Yet, through the bleak onslaught, Alice clung onto an image, the Wonderland she once knew. A land vibrant with colors, filled with laughter, quirky companions, and innocent wonder. She embraced the love she held for this fantastical realm and its inhabitants. A warm surge of strength ignited within her, blazing against the Black Queen's icy control. "Enough!" Alice declared, her voice ringing clear and powerful. "Your reign ends here, Black Queen." The Queen recoiled, the confidence in her gaze waning. Alice advanced, courage emanating from her like a beacon. She focused all her energy, her memories, her love for Wonderland, and projected it towards the shadowy entity. A blinding light erupted, swallowing the darkness, causing the Black Queen to shriek in agony. The intensity of Alice's emotions overwhelmed the Queen, forcing her shadows to recede, gradually reducing her to a mere wisp before completely extinguishing. When the light faded, Alice found herself standing in the renewed Wonderland, bathed in the gentle glow of a setting sun. The darkness had vanished, replaced with lush landscapes and vibrant structures. The corrupted creatures had reverted to their original forms, looking dazed but joyful. The White Rabbit approached Alice, his eyes glistening with gratitude. "You did it, Alice. You saved Wonderland." Alice nodded, her heart filled with relief. She had not only restored Wonderland but also discovered her own hidden strength, a strength born from love and determination. From then on, Wonderland thrived once more. Alice frequented her magical retreat, no longer a lost little girl, but a valiant savior. The memory of Shadowland was a chilling reminder of the darkness they had overcome. Alice's tale echoed through the land, a timeless story of courage and love's triumph over darkness, the legend of Alice in Shadowland. The Grimoire of Shadows. In a long-forgotten town nestled in the hollows of an ancient forest, two grizzled men, Igor and Horus, once the epitome of strength and courage, now bent by age and faded glory, stumbled upon an enigmatic tome, the Grimoire of Shadows. The parchment pages, yellowed by centuries, were filled with tantalizing tales of youth restored, strength regained, and life's luster brought back. Enticed by the promise of rejuvenation, the two friends made a pact. Under the mystic glow of the moon, they would recite a tale from the grimoire, hoping to peel back the years that time had so unkindly laid upon them. Their first night under the silver light, the duo recited a tale about an immortal being, forever young, forever strong. As the final words resonated into the cool night air, they felt a jolt of energy, a current that surged through their frail bodies, straightening their hunched backs and setting their clouded eyes aglow. They retired, filled with anticipation of their new selves. The next day, the town awoke to chaos. A creature, fearsome and monstrous, roamed the streets, causing havoc and terror. The entity seemed impervious to time, untamed and unrestrained. Unknown to the villagers, the beast was Igor, transformed in sleep by the tale they had read from the Grimoire of Shadows. The following night, Horus, enthralled by the surge of youthfulness he experienced and unaware of Igor's metamorphosis, read a tale of a spectral spirit, unseen yet powerful. As dawn broke, a wraith-like entity began to terrorize the townsfolk, making objects fly, creating shadows where there were none, instilling fear with unseen threats. Unbeknownst to Horus, he had become the embodiment of the story, his spectral form wreathing in the daytime, while his human self was oblivious to the destruction. As the weeks passed, the grimoire continued to mutate them into the protagonists of their nightly tales, unbeknownst to their waking selves. They terrorized the town nightly, leaving their daytime selves to contend with the chaos. Their renewed energy had a dreadful price, and the town, once tranquil, was now at the mercy of their nocturnal horrors. One evening, Igor and Horus crossed paths in their monstrous forms under the light of a full moon. Recognizing each other's terrifying visages from the stories in the grimoire, they realized the horrific truth: the Grimoire of Shadows did not merely promise to rejuvenate them. Instead, it transformed them into the monstrous figures from its tales, unleashing their dreadful alter egos onto the world. Terrified of what they had become and what they could yet become, the friends resolved to end their ordeal. In the soft glow of the next moonlit night, they sat together to recite one final tale. This time, a story of redemption, of monsters turned back to men. They woke the next day, frail and old, the potent energy they had felt washed away. But the town was calm, the terror of the past nights nothing but a distant memory. Relieved, they decided to return the grimoire to its resting place, vowing to never disturb it again. But the Grimoire of Shadows was not done with them yet. As they laid the book down, a mysterious force drew them into its pages. Their horrified screams echoed through the ancient forest, fading away until there was nothing but silence. The townsfolk never found Igor and Horus. The only reminder of their existence was the aged, eerie grimoire, sitting innocently in the hollow, its pages silently awaiting the next reader. Their monstrous forms continue to live, etched in the pages of the grimoire, forever trapped in their tales. Under the luminescence of the moon, if one listens carefully, they can still hear the whispers of Igor and Horus, their voices mingled with the rustling of the forest, forever warning others of the dire consequences of the Grimoire of Shadows. Their story became an eternal symbol of the price for challenging the natural order, a testament to the cost of ambition and desire. The book remains, ever potent, ever tempting, its shadows waiting to be awakened. The Albatross Grade. Rebecca Delaney, a spirited middle school teacher, adored the historic charm of her little town of Collymore. The latest addition to their town's charm, an artifact discovered in a nearby archaeological dig, had been proudly donated to the local middle school. It was a splendid, ancient coin bearing the engraving of an albatross. Rebecca remembered how its mysterious sheen had intrigued her students when they saw it for the first time in their school display case. However, things took a peculiar turn. Within days of the coin's arrival, Rebecca started noticing bizarre changes in her students. They became lethargic, their eyes glazed over with an eerie green glow, their behavior fluctuating between aggressive and robotic. Yet, strangely, when their parents or outsiders visited, they reverted to their normal selves, jovial and energetic as ever. The chilling realization of the curse hit Rebecca when she stayed late one evening. She heard strange groans coming from her classroom. Peering through the window, she saw her students huddled together, their bodies distorted, looking hauntingly like zombies. Shivering, she remembered the tale attached to the artifact, that it was cursed by an ancient sorcerer to protect his treasure, turning anyone who disturbed it into a monstrous form. Determined to break the curse, Rebecca started poring over the history of the artifact. She discovered it was tied to a series of cryptic riddles related to the albatross. Answering these riddles correctly would supposedly lift the curse. There was a chilling catch, though. Each incorrect answer would lead to the loss of a part of her personality or memory, consumed by the cursed children. Gathering her courage, she attempted the first riddle: the albatross glides on the sea's cool breath. What fate follows its death? Rebecca pondered, then wrote down, peace. The following morning, she found herself unable to recall her mother's face. Panic surged as she realized she had answered incorrectly, but she couldn't afford to wallow in despair. Her students' lives were at stake. She continued the risky task, solving riddles about the albatross, ancient lore, sea voyages, and sorcerers. With each incorrect guess, she felt parts of herself slipping away. Her favorite book, her childhood pet, her first love, all lost to the zombie-like children who now hid their grotesque form behind innocent smiles for their parents. With her memories and personality fading, Rebecca felt her will waning. She was losing herself, and her hope, with each passing day. But a breakthrough came with the eighth riddle: what does the albatross bear when it ascends to the air? Rebecca answered, a soul, and felt a surge of warmth. She had answered correctly. Emboldened, she solved the final riddles, drawing on a combination of intuition, desperate determination, and her knowledge as a history teacher. With each correct answer, she saw changes in her students. The green glow faded, their aggression diminished, and their vitality returned. As she solved the final riddle, the artifact, the cursed coin, crumbled to dust. The curse was broken, but the price was steep. Rebecca stood in the empty classroom, her students back home, finally free. However, she found herself in a room filled with ghosts of her lost memories. Her victory felt hollow without the parts of herself she had lost in the process. The next day, her students returned, their laughter echoing through the halls. It was as if the curse had never happened. Yet, something had changed. They were more respectful, more empathetic, as if they had grown up overnight. Even though they didn't remember the curse, they remembered Ms. Delaney, their brave teacher who stood by them. And for Rebecca, this newfound connection with her students, even amidst her personal loss, created a bond far stronger than any she'd had before. The experience had taught her the value of sacrifice, and she found comfort in her choice. After all, they were her kids. In the end, she realized that she didn't just teach history. She was a part of it. The town's tale of the albatross grade would go down in Collimore's local folklore, whispered from one generation to the next. And every time her story was told, Rebecca Delaney would live on, even if she couldn't remember the parts of her that had been lost. The gaze of the Gorgon. Alyssa, a young woman with luminescent azure eyes that captivated anyone who dared look into them, loved the thrill of old antiquities. Her intrigue led her to a dusty curio shop nestled deep in the heart of New York City's most aged borough. One day, her attention was caught by a necklace. It was an eccentric piece, a silver chain bearing miniature monster heads. It was intriguing, an oddity that seemed to resonate with her peculiar interest. She purchased it, unaware that her life was about to change drastically. At home, Alyssa couldn't shake off the eerie feeling of being watched as she held the necklace. The tiny monster heads seemed to stare back at her, their eyes glinting with an ominous glow. It was unsettling, yet compelling, a bizarre fascination that prompted her to put the necklace on. In that moment, a sudden surge of energy coursed through her. Her eyes, previously an enchanting azure, were now imbued with a powerful, otherworldly glow. She felt an overwhelming sense of unease, her heart pounded like a drum, and her hands shook uncontrollably. The gazes of the miniaturized monsters around her neck now bore a lively glint, as if they'd been awoken from a deep slumber. Days passed, and Alyssa soon realized she possessed a terrifying ability. When she looked at something with intent, the gaze of her now monstrous eyes, in conjunction with the necklace, could bring the monsters to life. An accidental glance at a mirror brought forth a serpent-like creature that had occupied her nightmares for years, materializing from the reflection and causing havoc in her apartment. Her life was rapidly becoming a living nightmare. She was perpetually on guard, ensuring not to unwittingly unleash any more creatures. However, with every monster she unwillingly brought to life, Alyssa was also learning to control her power, to summon and dispel the beasts. She was far from mastery, but there was a sliver of hope. One day, while navigating her newfound reality, she discovered a note hidden within the necklace's box. It was from the curio shop owner, a warning about the necklace's origins and its perilous abilities. But more terrifying was the forewarning of a prophecy. An ancient evil, the Gorgon, was on the verge of breaking the veil between the supernatural world and theirs. It was Alyssa's duty, as the necklace's wearer, to stop this calamity. The prophecy became reality sooner than Alyssa could have prepared for. The ground beneath the city shook, buildings crumbled, and the sky turned a sinister shade of red. Amidst the chaos, the Gorgon emerged, her serpent hair hissing menacingly and her eyes glowing with the power to turn living beings into stone. People ran screaming, but the Gorgon's gaze was relentless, turning numerous unsuspecting souls into lifeless statues. Alyssa stood amidst the pandemonium, a beacon of fear, yet brimming with determination. She clutched her necklace, feeling the monsters stir, ready to be summoned. With a deep breath, she invoked her power, her eyes glowing fiercely. One by one, the miniature monster heads sprung to life, a grotesque army materializing before her. They were terrifying to behold, but they were hers to command. A fierce battle ensued. Alyssa, commanding her monstrous army, and the Gorgon, with her stone gaze and serpent hair, locked in a cataclysmic clash. Alyssa's monsters, though smaller and weaker individually, overwhelmed the Gorgon with sheer numbers and coordinated attacks, distracting the beast long enough for Alyssa to find an opening. With a final surge of determination, Alyssa charged towards the Gorgon. She summoned a sphinx from her necklace, soaring high above the battle. As she reached the apex, she dived, hurtling towards the Gorgon with all her might. Alyssa met the Gorgon's gaze with her own, a clash of two powerful entities. In the seconds that followed, a flash of blinding light enveloped the battlefield. When the dust settled, the Gorgon was no more. Alyssa stood amidst the ruins, weakened but victorious, her monsters vanishing back into the necklace. Her eyes, once again, returned to their captivating azure, the otherworldly glow replaced by a familiar warmth. In the aftermath, Alyssa dedicated herself to understanding her power. She carried her necklace, a symbol of her terrifying ability, and her responsibility, with a newfound sense of purpose. She knew that should another threat emerge, she would be ready. The world was safe, and Alyssa, no longer a mere aficionado of antiquities, stood as its unlikely protector, the guardian of the veil between worlds. The final jest. The morning sun pierced through Aaron's blinds, shaking him awake. A soft hum of the city drifted through his Manhattan loft. He turned, reaching for a familiar warmth but found a cold, hard surface. His eyes popped open to find a white-faced clown lying next to him, its eyes eerily still, its grin wide with perversity. A hardened horror novelist, Aaron wasn't prone to being easily scared. But the sight of the unblinking clown struck a chord of primal fear within him. The clown didn't move, nor respond to his hesitant prodding, remaining still and silent as a statue. Throughout the day, Aaron found the clown in the most unlikely places. He'd open the fridge and the clown would be sitting amidst the lettuce and soda cans. When he went to shower, it was waiting behind the curtain, still grinning. It never made a noise, never gestured, just stared with its cold, painted eyes. Intrigued and unsettled, Aaron decided to channel his experience into a new horror novel, The Final Jest. The protagonist, much like himself, was tormented by an inexplicable clown entity. The more Aaron wrote, the more he noticed an uncanny coincidence. The clown mimicked the narrative of his book. If Aaron wrote about it waiting under his bed, he'd find it there. If he wrote about it perched atop his bookshelf, he'd find it exactly there. In his hubris, Aaron thought he could control the entity through his writing. He typed furiously, directing the clown to the corners of his apartment where it was less intrusive. But soon, the clown began to resist, not only disregarding his written commands but becoming increasingly menacing. Its grin twisted into a snarl, its once goofy outfit stained dark. The clown started moving on its own accord. No longer was it just a passive observer, now it stalked him, haunted his dreams, its silent laugh echoed in his head. Fear choked him, made him irrational. He stopped leaving his apartment, barely ate or slept. All he did was write, hoping he could somehow wrest back control. It was late one night when the clown's painted facade fell away, revealing a terrifying specter of darkness. The room was filled with a deep, cruel laughter that seemed to emanate from every corner. Aaron stumbled back, his eyes wide with horror. In the dead of night, the chilling laughter was a cacophony of his worst nightmares come alive. Aaron realized he had to finish his book. If the clown was a reflection of his story, he reasoned, it would end with the story. The haggard novelist, driven by terror and desperation, started writing the climax. His protagonist tricked the clown into a final performance, trapping it within its jest. Meanwhile, the clown continued its terrifying antics, smashing furniture, shattering mirrors, all the while laughing, a sound so blood-curdling, it nearly drove Aaron insane. Still, he wrote on, his fingers flying over the keys, sweat dripping onto the page. His character found an old music box, playing a melancholic tune that hypnotized the clown in the story. As Aaron typed, he could see the clown from the corner of his eyes, still and quiet for the first time in days. Encouraged, he continued. The protagonist trapped the clown inside the box, promising to free it only if it agreed to leave him alone. The laughter faded. The smashing stopped. The clown, once again a silent statue, stood near Aaron's desk, its eyes boring into him. Holding his breath, Aaron wrote the final words, and the clown, trapped in the box, was seen nevermore. A chill swept through the room as he finished, the wind howling in a final terrifying crescendo before all went quiet. Aaron turned, half expecting to see the clown still standing there, but found the room empty. He sighed in relief, the terror finally over. Aaron, famous horror novelist, had lived his own horror tale and emerged triumphant. He had written himself out of his nightmare, forever changed by the experience. His story, The Final Jest, became a bestseller. However, the ghostly laughter echoing in his dreams served as a grim reminder that sometimes, life could be scarier than fiction. And his story, though finished on paper, lived on in the recesses of his haunted mind.
Thank you for watching, and remember the darkness awaits. Until our paths cross again, stay fearful and stay subscribed.